Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today I will be talking about Love is Blind Season 9 reunion. I just finished watching it and I am very disappointed. I didn't think this reunion would be good, but I didn't think it would be as bad as it was. Like, I am very, very disappointed. So let's just jump right into it. So the reunion begins and we see Miles Smith, right? He's singing. I love Miles Smith, by the way. And then all the contestants of Love is Blind are like walking like down some kind of pathway. I don't know why, but it was giving like VMAs. Like, what were they trying to do with that? I don't know what that was about. They haven't done this in previous reunions. All the girls looked amazing. I love their dresses. I thought that every single one of them looked great in terms of how they put themselves together. But I was confused by this intro. It was giving like we're at the award ceremony, and like even the dresses they were wearing were giving like VMAs, like reward ceremony type of, it was a lot, right? I guess they had to open it up this way for us to prepare for what was to come, right? The nonsense that was to come after all of that. So basically they start with Megan and Jordan, right? And Megan announces that she's pregnant, right? Surprise! We all already knew this. Everybody, on the cast, and Nick Lachey, Vanessa Lachey, they're all like gasping, like, "Oh my god, we had no idea Megan was pregnant." Like we knew. I mean, enough had been leaked about that at this point for us to know that announcement was coming.
Okay, guys, so I totally forgot to mention that Megan already had her baby. I keep saying she's pregnant, but she had the baby. So I think she said that the baby is now 2 months old. So yeah, just wanted to clear that up. She was pregnant and had her baby already.
Her baby daddy is actually in the audience, so we get to see him. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, he's a good looking bald guy. I was like, okay, Megan. He looks well put together. So, I'm happy for Megan, especially after hearing what she had said in, the previous episode where she says she doesn't think she's even fit to be a mom and she was crying. She says that she loves being a mother, and, that the doubt that she had, wasn't really real. So it's nice to see that. Megan looks really happy. It looks like she's doing well. Jordan already knew she was pregnant prior to the reunion. So Jordan just lets everybody know that I think Megan had basically told Jordan already ahead of time. It seems like Jordan and Megan are on good terms. The one thing that Jordan was surprised to have found out was he was basically hanging out with Mike after the show, and Mike let him know that him and Megan did go on a couple of dates. Megan kind of says that that's true, and basically that they just found out that there was nothing really there. Am I surprised to hear this? No. Jordan says he seemed like surprised, but like I had a feeling, Megan was going to give it a try with Mike after things didn't work out with Jordan. To me, that's not surprising. And that's pretty much it for Jordan and Megan. And then they ask about Jordan. They ask how he's doing. Jordan confirms that he is single and that he's been on a couple of dates, but things haven't really worked out. And I don't know why, but I feel like Jordan is going to be fine. I feel like those DMs are going to keep coming. And I think that he's probably one of the best guys to come out from this season, or maybe one of the best people in general. Like, this season was just so bad, but Jordan, to me, was a pretty stand-up person throughout the entire season, right? So I get the feeling he's going to be cuffed up soon. Like, somebody's going to reach out to Jordan. I think he's going to be more than fine. And he looked good. He looked happy. So, that was good to see. Then they move on to Patrick and Casey, okay? And the first question they asked Patrick is, when Patrick watched back the season and saw Casey's breakup, right, and her saying to the cameras, obviously, that she wasn't attracted to him, how that made Patrick feel. And Patrick basically says that it was pretty harmful, it was slightly hurtful for him to hear that. And I think that in the back of Patrick's mind, he kind of knew why Casey had cut things off. But then obviously watching it back, it hurts more because he's seeing the way she kind of lied to his face, in order to spare his feelings. And then we see Casey kind of interject, and she basically says that she was trying to protect Patrick. There's a woman in the audience that basically scuffles when Casey says this. You can just tell she was annoyed by Casey, you know, like everyone is annoyed by Casey. Okay, you're trying to protect Patrick. Like the breakup was BS, you know, like the hugging, the kissing, like the giving mixed signals, it was ridiculous. Like to me, there's nothing Casey can say to explain that away. I don't understand it. Nobody does. So, and then as Casey's talking, Jordan is making these hilarious faces. Like I was busting out laughing, like, and then they asked Jordan like if he has anything to say, and he says something about how he has ADHD, and I was just like, but we all know that like he's also just shaking his head because Casey is a liar. You know, she just lies and lies and just runs her mouth and continues to lie, and it's crazy, you know, and you could just tell by Jordan's facial expressions. He's like, I'm not buying this. We're so tired of hearing about this. Here goes Casey again with her lies. And you could tell, like, even Patrick, because at one point Patrick and Casey start going back and forth about the timelines of what happened after they started filming and why they didn't really why they didn't really meet up immediately. And you can tell by the way Patrick is responding that he's over this situation. He's just kind of like, ugh, you know, it's been about a year since they filmed this and everything happened, and he's over it. You know, he's just like, okay, I'm at the reunion. I have to like hash this out. But you can tell that he's kind of like, I'm done with this whole thing, you know? Eventually, Patrick basically says like to Casey, like, this is your moment to just apologize. Own it, say you're sorry, let's move on and bury this, right? And basically he says like, let's do that so that we can just walk away in peace. And Patrick even says he doesn't even want the ring back. Like at this point, Casey should just apologize, water under the bridge. And then Patrick says something along the lines of like, he says he loved her in the pods and that he knows that she's like a good person. And I was like, what is Patrick talking about? And this is where like Patrick loses me, because I do think that he's way too nice. Like even after watching the show back, why do you still feel like you have to give Casey any sort of grace? And she's not a good person. So Patrick is also on this stage lying. I'm tired of it. Call a spade a spade. Where is Patrick's spine? I don't like spineless men. Like, call it what it is. You like, who are you? Like, what? Who are you trying to protect? Casey? Casey? Like, guys. Oh, Patrick, he frustrates me. He frustrates me. Like, if you want to give people grace that deserve it. Casey does not deserve any sort of grace. Like, no. What do you mean you know she's a good person? Are you mad? Has he not seen everything that's come out about Casey? Like, that's the one thing we know for sure, guys. She's not a good person. Like, the proof is in the pudding. Please, like, yeah. Patrick low-key gets on my nerves. Low-key. Like, no. We don't gotta start lying now, okay? I feel like he just tries so hard to like be the bigger person, do the right thing, say the right thing. And I'm not saying that he needs to go on, you know, there and start tearing Casey apart, but you don't have to call, you know, start lying about the girl and call her what she's not. She's not a good person. You don't have to say all that, right? So Patrick is basically like demanding an apology. Yeah, Casey eventually says she's sorry, but even the way she says sorry, she's not sorry. Okay, she is not sorry. We all know she's not sorry. Okay, she said that because she's in 4K at the reunion. She knows the kind of, you know, backlash she's gotten on the internet. That's the only reason. She's not sorry. Okay, she's not. Yeah, so basically on the stage, which I was surprised by this, Casey actually brought the ring with her. Okay, and you see her get up and literally hand the ring back to Patrick. Okay. And I was like, wow, I think this is the first good thing I've seen Casey do since watching her from the very first episode of this season. I was like, damn, like that was the very first time I was like, she's actually doing the right thing for once, you know? And I think at one point, Allie chimes in and says something along the lines of, she doesn't understand why Casey should give the ring back because the ring was bought by production or something. And I get her point, but what is the reason for Casey keeping this ring? She didn't even want to talk to Patrick on the phone after they got back to Denver. She couldn't even pick up the phone to call this man. But she doesn't want to give back the ring. I just feel like if you don't even have the decency to talk to someone on the phone after publicly breaking up with them and doing theatrics online and or I mean, doing theatrics during the breakup. And why would she keep, like, why are you keeping that ring? Yeah, and I didn't like that comment from Allie. I did not, because based on character alone, Casey doesn't even deserve that ring. I don't care if it was bought by production. I don't care if Patrick didn't put $1 into that ring. Give the ring back. Casey does not deserve that ring. Like, Allie needs to stop with that. I'm sorry. Like, what do you mean? And of course, Allie would say that, because I also feel like Allie is just, let me not even get into it. But yeah, I didn't like that. Like, she has no reason to keep that ring. I don't care if Patrick didn't put any money into it. It's the principal. She's the one that broke up with him. She's the one that treated him poorly. She doesn't deserve that ring. So then they basically start showing flashbacks to Patrick and Casey when they were in the pods playing basketball. And in my head, I was like, that's the flashback that you guys want to show? Why don't you show the scene of Casey basically trying to seduce the man with all her sexual whatevers? Why didn't they show that? And this is what I'm talking about. Like, Love is Blind, this Netflix series, they're on something. Because what? You showing the basketball, them shooting hoops? Are you serious? Out of all the conversations they had and all the things people are saying online about the conversations they had, the conversations about Patrick opening about his insecurity about being Asian, you know, the conversation where literally Casey tries to seduce him with sex, like all of those things you're going to skip over. You're going to show them shooting baskets in the pods. Then it doesn't end there, guys. They keep going with this nonsense and they decide to bring out Klay Thompson himself. And then you see Patrick and Casey like shooting hoops. So because Patrick lost this ridiculous game of basketball, they decided to play in this reunion. They're playing games in this reunion instead of asking the questions that need to be asked, the questions that the whole world and the whole internet has been asking. They haven't been asking them. Instead, they're playing basketball at this reunion, guys, wasting our time. Yeah, I'm not happy. I'm sorry. I'm not happy. No. Then, because Patrick didn't win this basketball game, you see Nick Lachey or Vanessa Lachey saying, oh, I guess you got to give the ring back to Casey. What? So Patrick takes the ring off and gives it back to Casey. And guys, I'm not going to lie. When that happened, I wanted to shut the reunion off. I said, you know what? I think I've seen enough. Because if this is how we're starting off, right? It's only going to get worse. It's only going to go downhill from here. Because this is crazy work. Patrick gives Casey back that ring. Dusty Casey. No good Casey. The Casey where anytime any contestant on this series talked about Casey, it was never in a good light. Casey has not just wronged Patrick, but we find out that she's wronged so many other people in this season. And he's given her back that ring. Okay. I got to move on because I don't want to get too angry on here. I just don't. But that frustrates me. What are they trying to do here? They didn't ask Casey about the breakup and the fact that she was jumping on him and kissing on him and saying, I can't do this. None of. Okay. And then they had her eventually keep the ring in the end. Okay. We're going to move on because I can. So Vanessa Lachey basically asked Casey if she has dated anyone else in the cast after Patrick, okay? And we all know who she's talking about. You know, Casey's acting weird, acting like she doesn't want to say who it is. We all know it's Joe, okay? But then she's sitting there like trying to be like obscure and not say who it is. Like, girl, say it with your chest. We all know. So eventually, you know, she says, okay, it's Joe. And basically Casey says that they dated for like about a month. Her and Joe say they dated for about a month. And then Nick Lachey wants to know why it ended. And basically they just said that it fizzled out. We all know what happened there, guys. They probably just hooked up because this is what people do in nowadays. I feel like there's just so much meaningless hookups, meaningless interactions with people. This is what people do. You know, it just fizzled out. Okay, that's fine. So Vanessa basically asked if Madison knew that Casey and Joe were dating, right? So Madison then says, right, and I thought this part was very interesting because I did not agree. But Madison basically says that whatever happened between Joe and Casey was part of the reason why Joe ended their engagement. Now, Madison, that's a straight up bold-faced lie. That's a lie. And this is where Madison loses me, right? Because I like Madison. But what I don't like about Madison is there is a level of delusionalness to her that I still haven't quite gotten over. Like, what are you talking about? Did she not watch the season back? Joe ran from that tux fitting, okay? Ran for his life from that tux fitting. And that was before he went to the bar to meet up with Casey and the other singles, right? Where Madison says that they were allegedly flirting, Casey and Joe. So if this is the timeline of how things broke out, right? How does it make sense that Casey is the reason why your engagement ended? No, that's not true. And you even see like Nick Lachey kind of stand up for Joe. And he's just like, actually, I'm pretty sure you were struggling during the whole tux fitting. Nick Lachey is like, I was there. And Joe was having a hard time during the tux fitting. This was before they met up with all these singles. So there's no way in that timeline that it makes sense for Madison to say that her engagement ended because of Casey. Like, Madison, be so for real. Your engagement ended because Joe did not like you. Why is that so hard for her to understand? It's been over a year since they filmed this show. This girl still doesn't get it? She's not blaming Casey? No, we're not going to do that, okay? And this is where Madison loses me. Come on. We got to see things clearly. I know Madison doesn't like Casey. I can tell. A lot of people don't like Casey, so I'm right there with her. I also don't like Casey. But we still have to be honest about what went down. Let's not start lying now, right? Casey is underwater for a lot of things already. She's already getting a lot of heat. We can't now put, Madison and Joe's relationship ending on Casey as well. That's not fair because that's not true. That's just not true. Okay, let's keep it a buck. That's not true. Yeah, and then Madison says she saw like Casey flirting with Joe at this bar and stuff. And I don't think that Madison's lying. I totally believe her because Casey is, she would do this, right? She's not a good person. It's very clear. Joe said to Madison that Casey was giving him googly eyes, but that's not the reason that Joe ended their engagement. It's just not, right? So yeah. And then Madison wants to basically know why Joe didn't tell her about the breakdown he had during the tux fitting. And Joe responds and basically says that he was too busy hanging out with his friends, having a good time. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, this is why, like, Joe, to me, I feel like there's just a level of like immaturity to him. I don't really know why any woman would want to be with him. Like, I don't, especially if you're a woman that's serious about settling down, marriage, children, like you actually want something long-term. Like, I don't see that with Joe, and that girl that's dating him now, Avery, good luck, because she seemed cool. I watched Avery's interview. She seems cool, but like, I don't know about Joe. I really don't. Because even that response of, oh, I wanted to enjoy the time with my friends. Like, you could have told Madison what happened at that tux fitting and then gone to enjoy time with your friends. Like, what a sorry excuse. No. And this is what I'm talking about. You just don't handle things well. What does it take to tell your fiance what happened? No respect. It's like a child. No. And then Madison said she basically found out that Joe and Casey were dating during like Mike's pool party. And supposedly Casey went up to Madison and said that they were Eskimo sisters. Casey's denying that was said. This is the girl that Patrick says is a good person. Yeah. Yeah, and then Joe basically tries to move on and says, seems like we're all done. And there's something about Joe, as annoying as he can be, he is funny. I'll give him that. He's a funny guy. I feel like he's also very likable. And there's something about Joe, I think he's one of those guys you have to run from because he gives me the vibe of you can't stay mad at him for long. Like, he could just piss you off, but then there's something about him where you almost feel like you can't stay mad at him. Those men are dangerous, okay? Those men are dangerous, in my opinion. Then they get into kind of like some timeline overlaps. Joe is kind of saying that at Mike's pool party, him and Avery weren't officially together. And supposedly at this pool party, when Avery showed up, you know, Casey was like crying. And Casey says she was crying because she still had feelings for Joe. But then Joe showed up to this event with Avery, right? So that goes to show you that whatever was going on between Joe and Casey, it was something, right? Because why would Casey be crying at this pool party if she didn't really have any feelings for Joe? So yeah, it's just very messy vibes. And I don't know how to explain it, but hearing all of this, I just feel like these are not the behaviors of people to me that actually want long-term relationships and want to settle down. This just sounds like messy nonsense to me. And unfortunately, this is the world we live in. Like, these people are all in their 30s. Like, you can't convince me these people are looking for long-term relationships. I'm so sorry. It's messy, and it's also kind of gross the way they're just sleeping around. Like, get it together. So eventually, like, Madison says something along the lines of like, she still didn't really understand why things didn't work out with Joe after filming. And I'm still confused because, once again, like, I don't know what it's going to take for Madison to understand that Joe did not like her. It's okay. Like, not every guy in this life is going to like you. And that's okay, right? Like, it's okay. It's okay. I feel like it's almost hard for her to like swallow that pill. Like, she's just hanging on to this idea that it's just confusing. And don't get me wrong, Joe did confuse her, right? After filming, supposedly they met up and he was crying after filming. But like, at the end of the day, eventually you just have to come to the terms that Joe just didn't like her enough. He just didn't. I'm not saying he wasn't into Madison at all. I think that they did have a connection, but at the end of the day, it wasn't enough to sustain a long-term relationship. Joe did not like Madison enough for it to work, period, you know? And Madison also mentioned something about how she also got a lot of comments about her body. And to me, this is like a tricky situation, like a tricky topic, because in my opinion, Joe did not really say anything about Madison's body that was super negative. It's just unfortunate because of the fact that he brought it up on the show, it then made it so that everybody on the internet started talking about Madison's body, right? But if I'm going to keep it a buck, all I really heard Joe say is that Madison had a larger physique, in his opinion, right? And this is Joe's opinion. I don't believe Madison has a larger physique. A lot of people on the internet don't believe Madison has a larger physique, but Joe thinks that. In his mind, that's how he sees Madison, right? And larger than a woman that he normally typically dates, right? He then mentions that he likes women that are petite, right? Madison is taller, right? In those statements, I don't see how he went wrong in trying to describe that Madison is just not the typical type of woman that he dates. Please correct me if you guys think I'm wrong. Please tell me if you guys think I'm wrong. But I don't really see the wrong in that. For Madison to now go around and say that she like developed an eating disorder, I don't think that that's fair. I don't think that that's fair because I feel like she's saying it in conjunction with what happened with Joe. I think that if anything, the internet is a strange place because I saw a lot of people making videos and the title would say, Joe thinks Madison's fat. Joe never said Madison was fat. So whoever is making these videos, is that what you think about her? Because it's just strange. But Joe never used those words. He never really tried. He never, in my opinion, body shamed her. He never did that. He just said that your body type is not the type of body type that I date normally. I'm confused, guys. What's going on? And now Madison is trying to blame him for what? It's unfortunate that the internet ran with comments about Madison's body. And I get that maybe she's just frustrated that Joe brought it up at all, because then it opened up a whole entire conversation about Madison's body. And I understand how that sucks for her, because it's like she has to now look at all these comments online. In that aspect, I feel for her. But in no way was Joe trying to be malicious by explaining this. He was just trying to explain his type to her, right? And now it's just turned into something else. You see, in my opinion, I mean, women are so quick to call men short, talk about how they're balding and how they don't date bald men. But God forbid a man says, hey, I like a woman with a smaller physique. God forbid. I'm sorry, but like, I don't like the double standard, right? I don't like that. I don't think it's fair, because I think that as women, we critique men on their appearances a lot, and we do it to their faces, and we're not nice. But then if a man says anything about certain things, women are just so quick to just, freak out. That to me is not fair. That's my 2 cents on it. I don't want to go off on this tangent, but okay, in my opinion, they spent way too long on Casey, Patrick. Oh no, I'm sorry. They spent way too long on Casey, Joe, Madison, and Kate. That whole situation, done. I'm like, oh my gosh. So basically, Nick apologizes to Kate. Kate doesn't believe it. She thinks it's still calculated and that Nick is possibly like AI or something. We see Annie kind of touch upon some things, and first of all, Annie's hair looked a lot better. I noticed that. I was like, clearly these hair comments got to her. Her hair looked good. And she kind of stood up for Nick, if anything, and explained that the pods was a very unique experience, and kind of giving him some grace for the way people were describing him as being disingenuous, and then they asked Annie. Annie said she got a lot of comments of people saying that she should have chose Brendan. And Annie basically says she doesn't believe that, and that she's glad that she chose Nick, right? And that surprised me. I mean, it surprised me to an extent, but yeah, Annie was just honest in saying that she wouldn't really have changed the journey that she took on the show. So that was basically all that happened with them. Kate confirms that her and Brendan went on a date, but then says that, not long after they went on a date, Brendan and Casey were seen hanging out, and that they were all over each other. Casey's obviously denying. And as Casey's trying to deny, she tries to rope Patrick in. And she's like, Patrick, you were there. Patrick is like, no. He's like, don't get me. He literally is like, I was not there. And I was laughing like, Casey's really trying to rope Patrick in to now save her. My God. Like, what is going on with this Casey girl? Like, of all the people to help her out, I'm like, why is Casey calling on Patrick? Crazy work. So, all right. So we go on to Allie and yeah. So then we go to Allie and Anton. And I just want to say, Anton looked really good. Like, I don't know what he's done after the show, but he looked almost like healthier, calmer. I really liked his demeanor in this reunion. I was like, okay, Anton, So Nick Lachey basically asks about Anton's friend's girlfriend. The girlfriend who took Allie to the bathroom and told Allie that Anton would in the past go to strip clubs, right? And Anton basically says that he was disappointed in that scene, and that he thinks that she just wanted her 15 minutes of fame. And Anton really didn't like that she took Allie to the bathroom to say that. If anything, he's like, it could have been a conversation that they had while they were all sitting at the table. Now, I 100% agree. I think that the girl making that comment was definitely trying to, warn Allie, but I think the way it was done was not the best, right? Like, she should have brought it up at the table. Like, why not? It's a little snaky, a little strange, And Anton basically says that they're actually not even still dating anymore, so it didn't end up working out. Yeah, and the only thing that surprised me with Allie and Anton is we basically find out that Allie never brought up this strip club conversation to Anton. I don't know why, but I just assumed they talked about it off camera, and it was something that we didn't see. Considering what big of a deal Allie made it and how much it seemed to bother her, and it does, she even confirmed at the reunion it bothers her. She doesn't even know why she didn't ask. And the fact that she didn't ask just shows me that Allie, I think, was also very calculated. She was probably just trying to get to the altar. And I think it shows you that she didn't care about Anton. She did not, because I'm like, if she was serious about trying to marry him, she would have asked him about the strip club. She would have. I think she didn't ask him because I think she had no intention of saying yes at that altar. I think she had her mind made up like pretty shortly after the reveal with Anton. I think so, because to hear that she never asked about that and that bothered her so much, bizarre. Like Nick Lachey was like, how could you not have asked? She had no excuse to me that made any sense at all. And then basically with Allie, and then we find out that Anton is actually in a relationship, and he's been in a relationship for a year. And his girlfriend is in the audience. They show her, and he says they're really happy. So it's good to hear that. And then they ask Allie about her relationship status, and she basically says she wants to keep it private. So yeah, some people are joking, saying that she's probably going to be on Perfect Match next, or another reality TV dating show. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like Allie is definitely giving like she came on the show to get other opportunities. That's the vibe I get, especially after hearing she didn't ask about the strip clubs. Yeah, she had ulterior motives, so. And then Allie makes a comment about how she had a very hard time having conversations with Anton outside of the pods. And I'll just say that I did notice this. Like, I did feel like in the pods, the conversation kind of bounced back and forth better. But whenever they were even filming, something about their interactions was a little more awkward. I felt like the conversation didn't flow the same way. And I don't really know why. Like, I don't know what happened there. But I do understand where Allie is coming from in saying that things were just not as smooth as they were like in the pods. And then Vanessa asks if like Allie's friends commenting on Allie's job and like what, Anton did for work was part of the reason she said no at the altar. Allie says that wasn't part of the reason. We all know that was part of the reason she said no. I mean, she's just trying to save face, to not look like she's materialistic or, but I think that played a factor for sure. Okay. So then the last couple they touch upon obviously is KB and Edmund. Okay. So KB starts by basically saying that Edmund was her best friend in the pods, and she says she didn't see his body language in the pods. And I thought that was a very interesting thing to say, because I think that once KB did see Edmund in real life and saw the mannerisms, the way he dresses and everything, I 100% think that the attraction that she had in the pods simply dissipated. Like, it just wasn't there anymore. And this is why people are upset with KB, because I think she knew pretty early on, after seeing him, seeing the body language and the way that she didn't want to move forward with Edmund, right? So everything she went through, right? And the, everything she went through and what we saw unfold, the fights, her basically cussing him out, it was unnecessary. It was unnecessary, and this is what people are mad about when it comes to KB, right? Like, you didn't have to put yourself through all that. It was a choice, right? And yeah, I just think that once she saw the body language and figured out that Edmund was not it for her, she should have left. She should have. So they kind of go back and forth, KB and Edmund, but I can't really hash into what they went back and forth about, because I'm so tired. This couple there's so much misunderstanding going on, and he said, she said. Basically, they come, to a pretty good conclusion of, they're able to end things like on a good note. KB says that Edmund did teach her a lot of things, and that she still enjoyed the experience she had with Edmund. She takes accountability for cussing him out and saying that is not right, and that she regrets that, and that Edmund should never accept that from other, in any relationship. So I applaud KB for her ability to apologize, own up to something, and say no matter what, she still wishes the best for Edmund. Edmund agrees and says that he doesn't think he could ever get a woman like KB in real life. And when Edmund says this, they, get up, and KB and Edmund end up hugging it out. So in the end, I think that it ended on a good note. And all the accountability that KB could take for her actions and what she did wrong, Casey needs to take a page out of that book. She needs to, okay? She needs to take a page out of that book, because this is what she couldn't do. I don't understand why. And I really think that to be a good person, right? Or even a better person, you have to have a level of self-awareness and the ability to say, hey, I was wrong. I'm sorry. You know, like there's nothing wrong with that. But all in all, this was probably the worst reunion I've ever seen in my life. A lot of the questions we had, like the internet had, they did not ask. Like, I don't understand. I feel like they just filled this reunion with fluff, and it was a lot of information that we already knew. Like, the only thing that I think I found out that was shocking to me was the fact that Allie didn't ask Anton about the strip clubs. Everything else I pretty much knew. And I'm sure everybody watching knew already as well. So they could have just skipped this reunion. I don't really understand why they had people do so many interviews prior to this reunion. I feel like it almost ruined it, right? Like they could have skipped out on the interviews, let all this come out during the reunion. It's crazy. I'm really glad that this season is over. I think that this is a season for the books. I don't think anybody will ever forget this season because it is an iconic season where nobody got married. And it was so messy, you know? So for that, I know that it will never be forgotten. But yeah, I mean, I hope that the next season is better and more people make it to the altar. Because this season was just, no. I'm never moving to Denver. Let me just throw that out there. For one, I don't like that the dating scene is so mixy. It just sounds like it's a big mess, okay? Like, no. So that's it for this reunion. Please let me know your thoughts down below, guys. If there's anything you said that you would like to comment on that I said in this video, anything that you even disagree on, please let me know your opinions on everything. I feel like the ending of this season is bittersweet because as bad as it was kind of fun reviewing this season. So yeah, this is a chapter closed and I'm excited to review the next Love is Blind season. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far throughout the video, please subscribe. I have so many more reviews to come. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you next time. Bye.